Good day, welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Today, as we take a look at Jonah chapter 1, verse 11 through 17, we will see that there was a storm at sea, and the mariners wanted to find out what is the solution to the storm. So they begin to question Jonah, and we will see that Jonah was thrown overboard at his request and was swallowed by a great fish. The question as they asked him, what shall we do? And this question was posed specifically to him. We want the sea to be calm, but what shall we really do? So after the advice to throw him overboard, the men were desperately trying to reach land. They care enough for him, even though a stranger. They prayed. They begged God for mercy. They asked God for forgiveness. But Jonah says, and my advice, the best thing to do is to throw me overboard. So they threw Jonah overboard, and the storm stopped at once, immediately. It was a miracle. And as we know, this great fish that was prepared by the Lord himself swallowed Jonah and kept him captive for 3 days and 3 nights. Another miracle was that Jonah was in the belly of the fish, but he was not digested. So we will see from the story today many blessings that came even from Jonah's sin, the sin of disobedience, the sin of rebellion, the sin of, as it were, standing up to God when he says go and saying, I am not going. Jonah chapter 1, verse 11. It says, the wind and the waves of the sea were becoming stronger and stronger. So the men said to Jonah, what shall we do to save ourselves? What should we do to you to make the sea calm? Jonah said to the men, I know I did wrong. That is why the storm came on the sea. So throw me into the sea, and the sea will become calm. Instead, the men tried to row the ship back to the shore, but they couldn't do it. The wind and the waves of the sea were too strong, and they were becoming stronger and stronger. So now we'll see Jonah's punishment. It says, so the men cried to the Lord, Lord, please don't say we are guilty of killing an innocent man. Please don't make us die for killing him. We know you are the Lord, and you will do whatever you want. So the men threw Jonah into the sea. The storm stopped, and the sea became calm. When the men saw this, they began to fear and respect the Lord. They offered a sacrifice and made special promises to the Lord. When Jonah fell into the sea, the Lord chose a very big fish to swallow Jonah. He was in the stomach of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. So we will see the blessings that the mariners received. They had a good heart, a kind heart towards Jonah. It was at their last resort, even though Jonah told them that the solution would be to throw him into the sea. But we see from even the sins of Jonah that these men receive a blessing. Through the failure of the mariners praying to their own God in Jonah 1 and verse 5, and their gods couldn't do anything. We see the witness of Jonah in Jonah 1 verse 9 and 10, where these pagan sailors came to know the God of Israel in Jonah 1 14 and 15 through 16. Jonah's calm amidst the storm in Jonah 1 and verse 5. But we also see his willingness to accept responsibility in chapter 1 and verse 12. Jonah says, listen, I am the one who has caused this. So his testimony, or his acknowledging that he was the one who caused it, these men begin to think, they begin to wonder. Now they begin to call upon Jonahs God. They told him, Lord, we don't want to be guilty of throwing this man out in the sea, because they know that whatever is going to happen is likely that Jonah is going to die by just throwing him out there. They didn't want his blood to be upon their shoulder. They were begging God for mercy. They were repenting. They made a sacrifice. They were making vows, promises to God. And so we see that whatever we do, as Jonah did, it affected others. So whatever we do, whether it is good or whether it is bad, it affects others. But God miraculously delivered the mariners, and he also delivered Jonah. In the fish's stomach, guess what? Jonah was in safety. He was rescued from the sea and that which could have happened for him. The fish was provided. God did that specially. It was for a purpose. The fish became the submarine. And as we see Jonahs going into the fish's stomach, testify of what Jesus says about his death, burial, and resurrection in St. Matthew 12 and verse 40. We know that all the efforts that these men tried, they fail. But thank God for caring individuals. They not only did what was physical, they did what was spiritual. They rowed hard to try to get to land. But nevertheless, guess what? They fervently prayed that the God of Jonah would save them. When we look at verse 13 and 14. Well, it was impossible, as they could see from what was going on with the sea, that they could not win this battle they were trying to fight. Why? Because God was dealing with a stubborn, disobedient, backsliding prophet of his. And it's a hard thing when we are stubborn and disobedient and backsliding, when we find ourselves in the hand of God. We see that in verse 4 of chapter 1, verse 14 and verse 17. So as they came to their last resort, they says, we have no other choice but to give Jonah to the sea. They have done everything else that they could have done. They were not selfish as Jonah was, only wanting the best for himself and for his people only. Jonah went and he ran away because of his selfishness. He thought to go into the ship was the only way of escape. And so these men finally agreed, did what Jonah said, and guess what? Because he told them, I am the cause. Because he told them, listen, I am going to be the one to fix it then. It is my problem. I am the solution. Throw me overboard. And so the solution to the problem, yes, truly, it was Jonah, because he was the one who was the cause of all of this. God knows our heart. He knows our thoughts. He knows what we do, and he sees us. Not as Jonah, who think that he could run away because he can hide from God. Let us remember, we cannot hide from God. We cannot flee from his presence. The more we run from him, is the more we will run into him, because he is everywhere present. But let us do that which is right, so that our influence in doing right will affect others in a positive way. Thank God this morning that the mariners themselves receive a blessing, because they were so caring. They were so kind towards Jonah. They could have themselves decided, we're going to throw you over there, even before Jonah said they should throw him overboard. But as they did everything, to include praying to God, so that the situation would find its resolve. God bless you. Thank you again for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment, and visit my YouTube channel, Daily Med with Lady V.